Good day, everybody. Today we're going to do the final lesson of Unit 11 on decimals. Today's lesson is called Estimating Sums and Differences for Decimals. And by the end of the lesson, you should be able to round to the nearest whole number and to the nearest tenth to estimate sums and differences. So let's get started. Remember that when we do an example, you need to pause the video, try it yourself, and then come back to see your answer. You can check whether the answers to sums and differences are reasonable by rounding to the nearest whole number. So here we have, let's say we were talking about money, $162.34. And if it was on a number line, here we would have $162. Here we would have $163. Right in the middle, we would have $162.50. So 162.34 would probably be about here. And we see that it is closer to $162, and so we round down. Remember the little rhyme that you learned: for or 5 or more, raise the score; 4 or less, let it rest. So we're looking at the number right after the decimal in the tenth spot. So that's 4 or less. So we're letting it rest as 162. And so here we see 162 and $16.23. Here we have 4 or less, and so we're going to let that rest as well. And so it becomes 16. And once we have whole numbers, it's probably fairly easy for you to add. 162 plus 16 makes 178. So let's try some exercises. Somebody punched these numbers into a calculator and got these answers. Are they reasonable? So let's do some rounding. $21.52. We have 5 or more, so we're going to raise the score, so that's going to round up to 22. Here we have a 1, so we're going to let that rest as 8. 22 plus 8 makes 30. These answers are close, so yes, it is reasonable. Reasonable means is your estimated answer, we are rounding to estimate here, is your estimated answer close to the real answer that was achieved. Let's look at the next one. $87.52. 5 or more, we're going to raise the score up to $88. Here we have $53.31, so we're going to let that rest down to $53. That number's and this is a subtraction. That number's a little too tough to subtract in my head, so I'm just going to do a quick subtraction on the side. 8 minus 3 is 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. So my estimated amount is $35. And then I look at this answer of $5.21. These are not close. And since they are not close, they are not reasonable, so I'm going to say that that person made a mistake and did not do the calculation correctly. Ivan had $17.45. He paid $10.95 for a new dictionary. Approximately, how much does he have left? How much does he have left? Exactly. So when you see the word approximately, or sometimes you'll see the word about, they are asking you to estimate. So 17.45, 4 or less, I'm going to let it rest, will become, actually I should use the approximately equal to. It's approximately equal to $17. 10.95. We have 5 or more, so we're going to raise the score, and that's equal to approximately $11. He had this amount here. He paid this amount, so I am going to do a subtraction because he took about $11 away from his total amount, and so we have about $6 left. Now, in order to find out the exact answer, we're just simply going to do 17.45 minus 10.95. So here we have 5 minus 5 is 0. Here I need to borrow. 14 minus 9 is 5. Don't forget your decimal point. 6 minus 0 is 6. So the exact amount that he had left over was $6.50. And our approximated amount was $6. Are they close? Yes, they are. So I would say that my answer is reasonable. This tells me that I probably did not make a mistake when I calculated the real answer, since my estimate is very close. Avril wants to buy 3 items that cost $4.79, $2.25, and $7.50. If she has $15 with her, does she have enough money to buy all 3? So this is kind of a real life situation where you might be in the store, you've only got $15 with you, you want to buy these 3. So you avoid an embarrassing situation where you show up at the cashier and then you realize you don't have enough. You could do a quick estimate in your head. So $4.79 is about $5. $2.25 is about $2. And $7.50, 5 or more, we're going to raise a score, is about $8. So this I can figure out in my head. 2 plus 8 is 10. Plus 5 is 15. So I probably have enough, especially since I rounded this one up and this one up. This one got rounded down. So this is probably an overestimate. That means it's probably higher than the real answer. Let's see if we could figure out what the real answer is, because it seems really close. And 225. So 9 plus 5 is 14. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 2 is 10, plus 5 is 15. 1 plus 4 is, let's go, 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 2 is 10, plus 4 is 14. So the real amount is $14.54. So you see how this was an overestimate? So it's higher than the real estimate because 2 amounts I rounded up and only 1 did I round down. So I do have enough money for those 3 items. Here's some extensions to insert the decimal point, estimate the answer rather than carrying out the operation. So let's see how we would do this. We're going to round to the nearest whole number. So here we're going to let that rest at 16, and there we're going to raise the score to 744. So 744 plus 6 would make 750, plus 10 more would make 760. So where would be the most reasonable place to put the decimal? Well, it would be right here, because that would be the closest. If I put it here, for example, that would only be 75.9, and 75 is much different than 760. 49.17, we are going to let that rest at 49 minus 3.5. I'm going to raise the score to 4. 49 minus 4 makes 45. So the most reasonable place to put the decimal would be right there. Estimate the value of 14.5 minus 13.92 by rounding both numbers to the nearest 10, to the nearest 1 and to the nearest tenth. So when I'm rounding to the nearest 10, the 10 is actually here, so I'm gonna, no, that's incorrect, I'm sorry. The 10 is right here, the 1 is in a 10 spot, so I'm gonna look at the number behind the one I'm rounding to, okay? So I'm looking at the 4 now. So it's 4 or less, I'm gonna let it rest, so that number will become 10. 14.5 is rounding down to 10 minus, here's the 10 spot, this one's a 3, So that's also going to round down to 10, and 10 minus 10 is 0. Now I am rounding to the nearest 1. Here's the 1 spot. I'm looking behind to round. So there's the 1 spot. So 14.5. I'm going to raise the score to 15. 13.92. I'm going to raise the score to 14. And 15 minus 14 is 1. And when I round to the nearest 10th, the 10th is here and here. So I'm going to look at the digit behind. So that one is going to stay at 14.5 because a 0 will make it rest. Minus 13.9. And that's going to rest as well. 4 or less, I'm going to let it rest at 13.9. So 14.5 minus 13.9. I can always do my calculation like this. I have to borrow here. 15 minus 9 is 6. And that's a 0. So there's my answers, 0.6. So you can see my 3 estimates are all fairly close to each other. If this was money, this would be obviously 0. This would be like $1. This would be like 60 cents. Which do you think is the most accurate? If you said the tenths, you would be correct because we have the most detailed digits here. So that's the most accurate, but it's also the most complicated one to do. I had to do an extra little subtraction here on the side. So if you are allowed to decide what you're rounding to, sometimes the easiest one may not be the best one because it doesn't give you an accurate answer. So in this case, maybe the 1 would have been the best one to choose because it was easy to do, yet my answer was still fairly reasonable. Okay, so the fastest one was this one, the most accurate one was this one, and the one in the middle might have been the best choice for both speed and accuracy. All right, that's it for our lesson. You can work on page 71, 72 in your Jump Math book, and please ask your teacher if you need any help.